So thank you for the short introduction. I'm working with DG Connect, which is one of the general directorates of the Commission. And you see it on the screen already. I have put some 3 other names, which is Michele Galatalo, Ilias Yakovidis, and William Neal. These are the 3, I would call them the DPP musketeers, and I work closely with them, and it's an honor for me to also kind of speak on their behalf. The theme of my today's talk is the Ecodesign for Sustainable Products Regulation and the Digital Product Passport. And just let me give me a short intro. The Commission, because Wolf asked me to do this little intro as well. The Commission is constituted of 27 commissioners. For every member state, there's one, plus Ursula von der Leyen as the president, and and they all have their own directorates. And the directorate I'm working in is the Communication, Network, Content and Technology Directorate. And we work with connectivity skills, cybersecurity, data spaces, and all the technical issues to do this. Also, let's say an introductory remark. I will be talking about a legal proposal that the Commission has put forward in March. And the legal proposal has the quality of a regulation, which means once it's adopted by Council and Parliament, these are the 2 co-legislators that now kind of look deeply into the proposal. Once they agree on it, then the regulation within the transposition period enters into force directly into national law. The equivalent in German would be Verordnung. The other one, which I will be touching upon as well, there's a different format which is called directive. There, the national governments need to do specific transposition laws at national level. It would be translated with Rahmenrichtlinie, just to make clear that there are slight differences. And with what I'm presenting here, we're still in the phase, the Commission has put forward a proposal, and now under the Czech presidency and the Parliament, they will start discussing this proposal, and they will be changing to all of this, but the overall structure, the overall idea is already set out. So with this, I go into the next, just a sense of urgency. You could also just forget the COVID-19, and there's always a recession, there's always some urgency beyond, but what we really face is climate change and biodiversity collapse. So this is why the European Green Deal is really a major political step forward. It was put forward 19th of December 19. And as a follow-up, you see the European Green Deal. There was a lot of legislation put forward, but also soft law and strategies. And I only marked 2 for you to give you an idea of what we're talking today. There is let's say at 1 o'clock, there's a zero pollution ambition for a toxic-free environment. Here, for example, we have sustainable chemical strategy, and part of the sustainable chemical strategy is, for example, the clear mandate for sustainable design for chemicals. So already here, the design plays a major role. We will be talking today at, let's say, 8 o'clock, mobilizing industry for a clean and circular economy. And the overall aim for the European Green Deal is to bring Europe to climate neutrality 2050, but also look into resource efficiency, into nature-based solutions, and bringing all on a path for sustainability. One word also is when we talk about sustainability, when I talk about sustainability, it's about the three aspects. It's the economic, the ecologic, and the social aspects. And often when we talk about the ecologic aspects, people tend to only talk about CO2 emissions and the climate urgency, but it goes far beyond this. We have the fossil fuels, we have the nature degradation, we have soil problems, water issues, and the whole idea of the European Green Deal is decoupling economic growth from resource use. Already for me, it's a little bit difficult to follow still a growth path, but I'll come back to this at a later moment. So key for sustainability is clear, the circular economy. Circular economy in the European Green Deal has a major role to play. You supposedly are all aware of those loops that interlink and that need to be closed where they aren't closed. And this calls for a huge and new cooperation between manufacturers, retailers, repairers, recyclers to have these cycles when it comes to business cooperation. But there are also roles to play from the policy side to procure the framework, but also from the consumer side to really share the ideas of circularity. What has been put forward at the end of March 2020 is the so-called Sustainable Products Package. It wasn't only one regulation that I will be diving into a little bit more. It has also been put forward a strategy for sustainable and circular textiles. Also here, the design phase is one of the major ones. There is a directive for new rules to empower consumers in the green transition. And there it's explicitly mentioned protection against greenwashing and deliberate planning or design of products with limited lifespans. So the obsolescence or the premature obsolescence problem. We have the global action here. You will see the due diligence mentioned. This is all the social aspects along the value chain. This is not part of the Ecodesign for Sustainable Products Regulation, which stands in the middle, but it's a complementary act that is relevant for bigger, especially bigger companies. The idea is also to support circular business models, and the other two are, sideways. Ecodesign working plan is important because the Ecodesign for Sustainable Products Regulation is eventually, when the decision takers have made up their minds, will replace the existing Ecodesign directive. What is part of the Ecodesign products regulation? We're talking about the umbrella of the regulation. It has Ecodesign requirements following the Ecodesign directive still in place. The way to design more specifically the requirements is done by delegated acts. This is a secondary level of legislation where the Commission puts forward proposals for a committee, and then the Parliament and the Council have limited possibilities to intervene. It's kind of lightening the overall legislative work. This is the idea behind the delegated acts can only be applied to put forward more technical specific things. The main decisions are taken in the main legal document. Part of the regulation are performance requirements towards all products put on the market. This regulation applies to all products without food and feed, and the construction is taken out of it as well, because it's covered by different pieces of legislation. There is an Article 7, which is about information requirements. And on the right-hand side, you see a lot of different requirements that need to be covered by the performance requirements and the information requirements: durability, reliability, reusability, upgradability, repairability. I will not go through all the list, but this might also inform your discussions tomorrow. Design for what? So there are different aspects, and sometimes they are not, they cannot be valid in the same space. And then you see, finally, Article 8, which is the digital product passport. What is the digital product passport for? It's designed as part of the information of the regulation. And the idea, the benefits expected is that we can track raw materials from extraction and production. It can enable the manufacturers to create digital twins. It's about the information chain along the value chain in order to enhance remanufacturing, repairability, reuse, resale, second life, and in the end also recyclability. It is also helping, hopefully, market surveillance and authorities, also the customs. It's also information available, let's say, higher level information for policymakers when it comes to where is, let's say, raw material in the cycle within Europe, also in view of strategic autonomy when it comes to raw materials, for example, or also to know where possibly new incentives need to be put. And last but not least, it will also inform citizens about their products. As I already said, this digital product passport will follow three major steps. We have the regulation now. As I said, now it's in the co-decision process. The regulation sets out the overall structure, the overall concept, the scope, and the key features. And the essential technical requirements need to be now developed through the standardization process. The standardization bodies have already received some of those obligations in their work plans, because standardization processes take a couple of years. And then, as I already said, the delegated acts will specify for specific product groups what exactly needs to be put into such a DPP, because a DPP for, let's say, textiles will look differently than, for example, for furniture or for electronic devices. And one provision is there: the DPP is mandatory for all products for which there is a delegated act, and putting forward delegated acts will take some time. In that sense, it will be a staged approach. I show this slide only because I have been asked, where do stakeholders come in? And then you see at the bottom line where the stakeholder consultation is foreseen. So the work plan to put forward the delegated act starts, and then you have the work ongoing. There are several stages where stakeholders come in. For all of the DPPs, there will be a distinct preparatory study and an impact assessment, and also there the public consultation will happen. And in the end, there is the adoption of the Ecodesign measure, which is another word for the delegated act. I don't want to bother you with all those details, but you're happy if you want to read them at a certain moment. The architecture of the DPP is set out in the regulation, and there are some key features that are already included. It's about non-proprietary solutions. So the open standards and interoperable format is very important. It cannot be that one platform is selling services in order to put data on the market. Granularity, there are different possibilities for the requirements. So it will either be at the model level, at the batch level, or even at an item level. This, for example, is very important for, let's say, vehicle batteries that are covered in a different regulation. But for example, batteries, they will have a serial number, because then you can say exactly how many, let's say, hours of work have they already done in order to know exactly their status and, let's say, their life expectancy. What is already put out there is the access rights. So the need to know basis is the underlying understandable. The liability, the DPP is foreseen to be decentralized, which means that every economic actor, operator who places a product on the market is responsible for the data of the accompanying digital product passport. As takeaways, the regulation wants to progressively make all products on the EU market sustainable. It is complemented by other regulations, for example, the due diligence and the right to repair. This is a proposal to be expected in autumn. The DPP is really conceived to aim for transparency and to enhance circularity. Rollout will happen in a step-by-step approach. The first implementation is foreseen for batteries in 2026, though with a slight, let's say, caveat, it will not follow 100% the DPP obligations, because they are the front runners and their regulation was already out before the ESPR was set. Even if there will be no DPP for a specific product group, and it will take a while until there are many DPPs out there, if we can tackle 2 or 3 delegated acts per year, this will be approximately a good thing. So you see, it will take quite some time to bring the DPP out for a lot of products. But some value chains might already want to move quicker, so they can always use the umbrella that is already out there and set up product passports that follow the same logic. And based on this, maybe the delegated acts for some product groups will not even be necessary. It's not as if the Commission is keen on putting out regulations, but whenever it is necessary, we do so. Role of standardization, I already mentioned. I want to add another one, the role of intermediaries, especially for consumers, because possibly there will be information in the DPP to which consumers have access. But if you are in a store, you don't want to have all the information in order to compare your I don't know, your 2 toasters or whatever. So it will be important that intermediaries kind of translate it into a digestible amount of information. And the same applies for SME. If they're contributing to a value chain, that they have help in order to put their data in. Last point, design has a major role to play. You will dive into it, and Ursula is going to elaborate on this. It's a bit tricky because you need to define clearly what exactly you design for, and there are many targets and design conflicts out there. With this, I thank you, and I'm happy to answer to questions.